Well, we're going to talk about encouragement. So let's define encouragement. Can we put up the first slide, please? Give support, confidence, or hope to someone else. And as you look at some of the synonyms underneath that, you get an idea of the scope of what encouragement can be. It can mean everything from a hug and you're the greatest in sincerity to a kick in the pants when somebody needs it lovingly. Um, Embolden, invigorate, uplift, spur on, whip up, all kinds of ways we can encourage one another. And I'm going to give examples today of a number of these from real life. Um, the first one I'm going to borrow from a story that I relayed. This is my third time up here, and the last time I conveyed to you an event that happened a long time ago, and I'm going to use it again because it really is the epitome of what encouragement is all about. We're going back to 1938. That was not the year Jim was born. That was later on. Boy, I am picking on you today, aren't I, Jim? You are, but he's still smiling. He's wonderful. 1938. Hitler's armies are beginning to march through Europe. And one of the countries that they invade early on is Holland. And they begin to collect Jews and put them on trains and take them to places that are beyond description and horror and sadness. And a group of Christians in Holland become alarmed because their friends and neighbors are being taken away. And so they go to Herr Kramer, who is their leader in the Christian community there. And they say, Herr Kramer, we are alarmed. There are things happening that we fear a great deal. They are destroying our culture, our neighborhoods, our friendships. People are leaving and we fear where they are going. What must we do? And we must do it quickly. Please tell us what to do. And here Kramer said, I am not going to tell you what to do, but I am going to tell you who you are. And he opened his Bible to 1 Peter and he read, you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, and a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. And he looked at them and he said, if you know who you are, you will know what to do. And he could have added, if you know whose you are. And they went out that night. They got together. They prayed. They studied the scriptures more. And they began the Dutch resistance movement, which in the next several years during World War II saved thousands and thousands of Jews from the gas chambers. That's encouragement. Encouragement, in some cases, means reminding people about their roots, reminding them where the way and the truth and the life really is, and to reflect on that before they act. Isn't that a lesson for us as well? Another example. Bob was in his junior year of high school, about halfway through, and he was depressed, upset, at the end of his rope. And he decided, that's enough for me. I'm cleaning out my locker and I'm heading home. As he struggled with the load of stuff in his high school locker, and you can remember back in those days, you tended to accumulate enough. Scott saw him as he was leaving school. He was an acquaintance. He wasn't really a friend at that point. And he said, Bob, let me give you a hand. And he took part of that load, and they began to walk together. And as they did, they talked, compared notes, laughed. And what began was a seed planted in the ground of a new friendship. And it grew and grew over the next few weeks to the point where Bob went back to school and he did very well. Fast forward a year and a half to graduation, and Bob had done so well that he got to say some words at the high school graduation. And in it, he thanked his parents, he thanked some of the teachers, he did some of the normal things you might imagine. And then he looked over the crowd and he found Scott. And he said, Scott gets my special thanks. Scott is the reason I am here today. He reached out to me when I was at my lowest. He didn't give me any wisdom. He just gave me his friendship. And he saved my life because that night I was going to take my own life. You know, sometimes a word, a gesture, something simple can change a life or save it. As Paul Harvey would say in his radio broadcast, and some of you who've been around a while remember Paul Harvey, the rest of the story is that Bob grew up to be a noted neurosurgeon who helped hundreds of people transform their lives from ill health to health and have a new hope in the future. Scott had no idea the impact of just reaching out and saying, let me help you for a minute. One more that I saw just a few weeks ago on 60 Minutes. I'm not a faithful disciple of 60 Minutes necessarily, but there was a story on there that intrigued me. Maybe some of you saw about St. Mary's High School in New Orleans. A high school exclusively for African-American young women. And when a young girl walks into that school, she is presented with a challenge. We expect you to complete your high school studies, to graduate and be accepted in a college. That's one of the expectations we have for a student in this school. And when they interviewed the principal claimed that they have not a 70 or 80 or 90% success rate. They have a 100% success rate of these young women going through high school and going on to college. And the thing that got the story on 60 Minutes was that two of these young women solved a mathematical puzzle that had stumped people for 2,000 years. Nobody had solved this puzzle. And these two girls attacked it and actually solved it. And that got them on the news. Now I'm going to duplicate that puzzle here. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I have no idea what they were talking about at all. But they did it. And so another way to encourage people is to give them a vision of what they can expect from themselves and to support them in that effort. They don't just say in the first day, you're going to do so well and good luck to you. They're with them, shepherding them along the way. And the morale there was fantastic. And we are called, I think, to do that to each other as we walk along. You know, we're not meant to take this journey of faith alone. That's the Christian community's role. We contribute, we receive. And it's critically important that we do that on a regular basis, both of those things. You know, one of my heroes from the Bible is a man whose name was Joseph. I happen to think Joseph's a fantastic Bible name, don't you? I'm a little prejudiced there. But it's not Joseph whose coat had many colors, and it's not Jesus' earthly father. It's another Joseph who had a gift. And he used that gift so liberally that it affected the entire community of faith. And his impact was so huge on everyone that they wound up changing his name. And so we know him not as Joseph, but as Barnabas. And Barnabas means son of encouragement. And that's simply because he was exactly that. That was his role. Just as Jim encourages me in various ways, Barnabas encouraged the entire Christian community in impactful ways every day. And wouldn't that be a fantastic way to be remembered? I mean, that's right up there. Encouragement is found throughout the Bible in hundreds of places. You can't read the New Testament without coming across ways that one person encouraged another. And certainly the outstanding example of that is the way Jesus interacted with folks wherever he went. But I would point you to one chapter that's a wonderful example of the different ways that we can encourage one another. And that's 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. It's kind of the encouragement chapter in the Bible. Verses 11 through 23 have a variety of ways we can encourage one another. And I, in my study Bible, there is a checklist for encouragers, which is a great aid. And in it, they list all of the things in chapter 5 that come under the heading of encouragement. Building each other up, living in peace, warn the idle, encourage the timid, help the weak, be patient, be joyful, pray continually, give thanks, count on God's constant help. All of those things just in 12 verses. Encouragement is an integral part of the growth of the church in early times. And heaven knows it's an important part of our growth in these times. Do you think the persecution and threats to the early church were unique? Well, I would submit to you that threats and persecution to the church in 2024 are also severe. And we are called out to be agents of encouragement wherever we go, in our church, in ISI, in our neighborhood, at our work, everywhere, and to communicate to people not only our affirmation of who they are and what they're doing and what their qualities are, but of what Christ is talking to us about. Whose are we? Who are we? And how are we to act against the flow that you see so much in society these days? I want to compare two communities for you. One community is ISI, and the other is a unique community that I was privileged to be a part of for a very short time. And I mentioned this before. Some of you may remember. I'm a extraordinarily proud dad, and I make no apology for that. I'm right up there at the top level. I always enjoy when somebody says, "Do you have any children? Tell me about them." Ooh, yes. Sit down, get something to drink, because I'm going to talk for a few minutes. Okay. Because I've got three fantastic kids. Well, one of them, Andy, just retired last July, 30 years active duty in the Navy. He had a fantastic career, and that's not just Dad saying it. Several years ago, he was chosen among several hundred officers to be the commander of one of our newest nuclear submarines. That was enough for his mother and I to just collapse in tears when we heard that. But one day he called me, and he was stationed at Pearl Harbor, and he said, "Dad, if you can get down to Pearl Harbor, I'm going to take you on a 24-hour cruise on the submarine." Yeah, that's what I said. Ooh, really? Gee. But I knew I would never forgive myself if I declined that offer. And thank God I accepted it. and had a fantastic experience. Um, and I could go on and on about that, but they'll get nervous in the booth and everybody will throw me off the stage by an hour and a half from now. But what I was able to do in those 24 hours, and I think I only got about 2 hours sleep, seriously, because we had the run of the ship. And the only part they wouldn't let us near was the nuclear reactor part. You know, if you press the wrong button there, it's poof, and it's just so it's no good. So we couldn't go there, but we could talk to any crew member and get an idea what was going on. And as I was thinking about the subject of encouragement, I thought, you know what? That community is an interesting study, and compare it a little bit to the ISI community here. When they leave port and they go out, only a few people know where they are. The captain of the ship, the Pentagon, and that's about it. Okay. And they are, make no mistake, going into hostile waters, which, of course, reduced his mother and I to prayer on frequent occasions. But what I found as I spoke to crew members was a pattern of behavior that is very much attached to what encouragement is about. And I want to go over 4 or 5 things that I identified there. And they all very much relate to what we do here. Efforts at self-improvement. Now, we're all responsible for our own improvement, and yet we can be of significant help to one another in that regard. It takes study. It takes self-discipline. On the boat, they're constantly studying and upgrading for promotion and for qualifications of different kinds. And yet they can encourage one another in that effort. We all get stuck, and we need to get over a hump now and then. And there's nothing like a friend who you can talk to who can help you do that. And that's encouragement. And for them to be studying and coming up against a barrier and to then lean on one another as they're trying to move along is so important for each sailor. Standards to live by. What are your principles? What are your values? What are your priorities? And is your use of time reflected in what you say your priorities are? Oh, yeah, I believe in this and this and this. And yet, if you really sit there and examine, and maybe a friend can help you do this, examine if your time spent is reflecting how important you say these things are. Good. If it isn't, watch out. You're heading off in some other direction. You may be saying it, but you're not living it. Integrity is the name they give to integrating what you say you believe and what you do. Setting and reaching goals. What are they? Do you know where you're going? No? Well, any road will get you there, obviously. But what are your goals? Have you set them? Are they reasonable? Are they measurable? And again, there's nothing like a close friend to help you check yourself on how you're doing. You know, I've got a goal of reading the Bible more. Well, great. Let's get it down to how much are you going to read the Bible? Have you got a goal and a discipline you want to confine yourself to spend X amount of minutes each day, a period of time each day to read the Bible? Do you want to read a chapter a day? Do you want to read through the Bible in a year? What are the measurable goals you can set for yourself so that you are growing? You know you're making progress rather than just say, well, I want to read the Bible more. Maybe a friend can help you say, hey, let's talk about this. How you doing on reading the Bible more? How can you measure whether you're doing well or poorly? And the sailors do that continually because they don't have unlimited time to improve. They've got to work and they've got to do other things. But study time, quiet time, free time can be used for one thing or another. It can be a waste of time or it can be well used. Not putting self first. one of my favorites. And my mentor, who is now with the Lord, had a great definition of sin. And I've shared this in a small group with some of you. Sin is the irresistible impulse to put yourself first. Think about that for a minute, and then apply it to your marriage, your friendships, your business relationships, whatever. If your emphasis all the time is, what do I want? What are my priorities? What's important to me? What do I want to do first, second, and third? And your second and third are way down the line. Things don't go well. Christ didn't work that way. He put great importance on the other person. He accepted people where they were. Now, he didn't leave them there, but he accepted them where they were. And he paid attention to them. He listened to them. You ever notice that listening is a lost art these days? People don't listen to one another. All they do is they be quiet until you shut up, and then they'll tell you what the truth is. Okay, that's what's called conversation these days too often, instead of truly listening to another person. Boy, how much more we could get done in Congress as well as other places if people actually listened to one another. But we don't do that very much. And so a friend is invaluable, who will truly listen and help you to get your priorities straight. And finally, teamwork. Well, here we are. Christian community is a theme in the Bible that is so strong. You can't avoid it. Paul, Jesus modeled it. But Christian community is the way we ought to proceed through our journey of life. We are to draw encouragement and give encouragement on a continual basis. That's the strength. Paul was so afraid that these little early churches that he started were going to split apart and be gone because of all of the pressure coming at them from the outside. And so he stressed so much the need for nourishing, encouraging one another on a continual basis. And so it is with us. I love to get into discussions with people about ISI. And I had one just 2 days ago with a group of people. And I mentioned I couldn't do something with them on Saturday morning because I was coming to ISI. He said, "What's ISI?" And so I said, "Well, we have a group of guys who get together, and we are all of one mind in the sense that we're trying to figure out what it means to be a Christian man in the 21st century here. What does Christ want us to do in our individual lives as we go along?" Saying, "Wow, that's terrific." And I know that some of them are thinking, as I describe this, that, oh, that's kind of cute. They probably have 10 or 15 guys who get together and they share, their ideas and so on. And I say, yeah, we average about 200. And they're like, what? 200 men at 7 on Saturday morning? What's going on there? That's the comment I'm waiting for. Okay. That's the comment I'm waiting for. And that's why I didn't tell them right off the bat that we have 200. I want them to think about this for a minute, get in mind what they think is happening, and then slap them with the 200 number, and it gets their attention. But this is not normal. How many of these do you know of? It's hard to get 10 guys together on a regular, consistent, disciplined basis and really get serious about the journey. 200? There's something going on here. And despite the protests you see on TV, just as one example, college students protesting this, that, and the other thing, violence, anger, all kinds of stuff. What you don't see on TV are thousands of kids in colleges, in retreats and renewal services, getting closer to the Lord, asking what they should be doing. It's happening all over. Have you ever seen it on ABC or NBC? No, you never will. But God is at work. And what's the old Marine Corps recruiting thing? Didn't they say, we're looking for a few good men? Okay. Well, God's looking for a lot of good men. And I would refer him here because we've got a bunch of good men right here. Right here. You betcha. We're not perfect. And I could name some guys who are definitely not perfect. No, we won't go there. No. We are all imperfect, but we are on the road. We're on the right road because our leader is the way and the truth and the life. Make no mistake about it. We're not going to get confused about all the garbage that we hear elsewhere. And that's why teamwork, bringing joy to each other's lives by reminding each other in a whole variety of ways that this is where we need to be. And this is the core, this is the base. And from here we branch out and we go our different ways and interact with hundreds and hundreds of people. And hopefully they are seeing in our actions even more than our words what it means to be a Christian man these days. And that's the goal, isn't it? And that's what I'm after. So, I forgot one slide, the other one on the Bible verses. Could you put that up for just a minute? I wanted to encourage you a little bit more. And I had just, we could be here and select 20 times the list that I'll have up here. But I wanted you to just take a look at these screens for a couple of minutes. And he's going to flash just maybe 3 or 4 seconds for each one until I can read it and then move to the next one. Okay, I've just got 5 or 6. This is encouragement. These are words that can be strengthening, life-giving to you as you walk along. Every once in a while we have, instead of a Bible study, I go to Tuesday morning. We have bring in your favorite verse. And I love that because we wind up with 20 or 30 verses that come out and guys come up with some. It's like, wow, I got to check that one out and make sure I mark that one in the Bible. It's wonderful. You can't read the Bible without getting pumped up because there's so many words of encouragement there from so many different sources. Okay, I want to leave you with a quote and a challenge. This is from theologian Frederick Buechner. David knows who that is. Theologian, author. This one really hit me. And I put it out to you for you to consider. When you remember me, it means that you have carried something of who I am with you, that I have left some mark of who I am on who you are. It means that you can summon me back to your mind, even though countless years and miles may stand between us. It means that if we meet again, you will know me. And it means that even after I die, you can still see my face and hear my voice and speak to me in your heart. That's heavy, isn't it? But it's beautiful. And folks, I challenge you to be that kind of person. Have an impact on other people's lives. Have an impact for Christ on other people's lives. I have a dear friend whose face is familiar to me still as much as it is seeing yours right now. He died 15 years ago, but he left an impact on me that I will never forget. And my desire is for the Lord to use me in whatever way so that I can be that kind of person who helps somebody else on their journey as they attempt to walk through their life, mirroring Christ as much as they possibly can. So be that person. You all have within you the ability to be that person. Try encouraging someone else in whatever way seems natural and right to you, but do it. Don't wait. And God bless you all as you try. Amen.